was pointed north, towards the false hope of the trapped ships, towards death. McClintock gathered a few tokens, returned to the Fox, and steamed home. And that, Evan, is what happens when you head out to the great unknown and don't pack enough for lunch. It all comes down to food. Lenore leaned back in her chair and shivered a little, glancing out her window at the gray rain of Vancouver, Canada. At the other end of the Zoom call sat Evan in Ontario. He was shivering too, though the warmth of 2020's summer was just starting to push back against a chilly spring. Separated by half a continent, both of us were cold and bored. We were each waiting out our own pandemic-flavored Arctic winter. Lenore's apartment felt a little like a sailing ship frozen in ice. Evan had more space, but a larger family. As we chatted, Evan occasionally picked up his laptop and moved to a different room as his teenagers free-ranged through the house. On that day, we were having a bit of a brainstorm. The two of us had been chatting off and on for about 2 months. We'd been friends and colleagues for years, but with lockdown, our conversation picked up pace. In the early days of the COVID-19 lockdown, we mostly moaned about lost travel. Both of us spent much of our pre-COVID lives traveling around the world, studying the global food system. But in March 2020, all those other countries might as well have been on another planet. And then, one fateful day, we realized there was a place we could go to and study a global food system if we used our imagination. We could do a thought experiment on what it would take to live on Mars. This struck both of us as a silly idea at first, but as we pondered, this thought experiment morphed into a 2-year mission, conducted over Zoom, one cramped claustrophobic room to another. It was in that moment, in April 2020, when COVID was new and there was no toilet paper anywhere, the two of us decided we should go to Mars, at least in spirit. And the first question, of course, was what would be for dinner once we got there. Note, we could, in fact, have made the actual trip in the time it took for the pandemic to pass. While this may seem like an odd question to ask, it is the one in most urgent need of an answer. Nearly 2 centuries after poor Franklin kissed his wife goodbye, loaded the last casks of fresh water, and sailed over the horizon, humanity is contemplating a journey into an ever deeper desolation, outer space, and beyond that velvet blackness, Mars. This book is about what the first Martian community must do to feed itself, if it is to avoid the kind of starvation faced by Franklin, Crozier, and countless failed explorers. But despite the specter of hunger past, this story is an optimistic one. As the two of us have gone on this imaginary mission, we've come to believe a Martian community can and will feed itself successfully, and in doing so will develop technologies that will revolutionize agriculture on Earth. Seem preposterous? We don't think so. In our day jobs, we are academics. We write serious books, give serious lectures, and advise senior levels of government in Canada and internationally. In all this work, the two of us have devoted our professional energy to developing strategies to sustainably feed the world's growing population. We work on figuring out problems linked to climate change and obesity, how to help people emerge from food insecurity, and the best ways of protecting farmland. Despite all this, or perhaps because of all this, in our opinion, figuring out what the first Mars dwellers will eat is a topic that may define the future of how we feed ourselves. At the time of finishing this book, dreams of sending people to Mars are all the rage. Billionaires and spacewalks are moving voyages to the Red Planet out from the shadow of fiction and into the